When a woman plays games with your heart, she is usually counting on one thing. She believes no matter how many mixed signals she sends, no matter how many times she pulls away, ignores you, or keeps you guessing, you will still be there waiting for her. She believes your feelings are stronger than your standards. She believes your attachment is stronger than your self-respect. But that ends today. I'm going to show you 5 silent moves that make women regret playing games with your heart. These are not tricks. They are not mind games. They are powerful shifts that help you protect your peace, rebuild your confidence, and become the kind of man who can never be controlled by emotional manipulation again. Comment: no more games. Number 1. Walk away without warning. The moment a woman realizes she can play with your heart without consequences is the moment she stops respecting your presence. She starts believing that no matter how many times she ignores you, keeps you confused, gives you mixed signals, disappears and returns whenever it suits her, or treats your attention like something she is entitled to, you will still be there waiting for another opportunity to prove yourself. She becomes comfortable because she thinks she has figured you out. She thinks your emotions have become predictable. She thinks your desire for her is greater than your desire to protect your own dignity. And this is exactly why walking away without warning becomes such a powerful move, not because it hurts her, not because it shocks her, but because it finally forces you to stop betraying yourself. Many men stay far longer than they should because they keep focusing on potential instead of reality. They become attached to who she could be rather than who she is. They keep hoping the woman who gives them confusion today will somehow become the woman who gives them certainty tomorrow. They keep making excuses for behavior they would never tolerate from anyone else. They call it patience. They call it understanding. They call it love. But deep down, they know the truth. They are accepting treatment that slowly destroys their confidence because they are afraid of losing someone who was never truly giving them what they needed in the first place. And the painful reality is that she often knows exactly what she is doing. She knows when she is keeping you emotionally invested without giving you genuine commitment. She knows when she is using your attention to boost her confidence. She knows when she is keeping you close enough to benefit from your presence, but far enough to avoid accountability. And every day you remain available despite seeing the pattern, you teach her that your standards are negotiable. This is why Stoic discipline matters so much in situations like this. Instead of obsessing over what she thinks, what she wants, or what she might do next, you bring your focus back to the only thing you actually control: yourself, your decisions, your boundaries, your actions, your future. You stop trying to manage her behavior and start managing your own life. You stop chasing explanations and start paying attention to evidence. You stop asking whether she values you and start asking whether you value yourself. Because the answer to that question changes everything. A man who values himself does not stay where he is constantly being tested. He does not compete for basic respect. He does not spend months trying to convince someone to appreciate what should already be obvious. He simply removes himself, quietly, completely, without seeking permission, without waiting for approval, without needing the other person to agree with his decision. And what many men discover after doing this is that the peace they gain is worth far more than the attention they lose. The constant anxiety disappears. The overthinking disappears. The emotional highs and lows disappear. The need to check messages disappears. The obsession with decoding her behavior disappears. And for the first time in a long time, they begin hearing their own thoughts again. They begin reconnecting with goals they abandoned. They begin rebuilding confidence that was slowly being drained. They begin remembering who they were before they made one person the center of their emotional world. That is why walking away is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your transformation. It is the moment you stop allowing someone else's choices to determine your emotional state. It is the moment you stop handing over power you should never have given away. It is the moment you finally accept that your life becomes stronger when your standards become stronger. And once you reach that level of clarity, something changes forever inside you. You no longer fear losing people who cannot value you. You fear losing yourself trying to keep them. Number 2. Stop giving her attention. The fastest way to destroy a game is to stop participating in it. Many men do not realize that attention is the fuel that keeps unhealthy dynamics alive. Every message you send after being ignored, every time you double text, every time you check her social media, every time you sit alone wondering what she meant, why she said something, why she disappeared, why she came back, and whether she still thinks about you. You are investing emotional energy into someone who has not earned it. And the harsh truth is that attention has become one of the most valuable resources a man possesses. Your time is limited. Your focus is limited. Your energy is limited. Yet many men hand all three to women who contribute confusion instead of peace. She may not be asking for your attention directly, but she benefits from it. She benefits from knowing she occupies space in your mind. She benefits from knowing she can disappear and still remain the focus of your thoughts. She benefits from knowing that while she is living her life, you are still emotionally attached to an unfinished story. And this is why taking back your attention is one of the strongest things you can do. Because the moment your attention leaves, your power returns. Suddenly your mornings are not about checking whether she replied. Your evenings are not about replaying conversations. Your weekends are not about hoping she reaches out. Your life stops revolving around someone else's unpredictability and starts revolving around your own purpose. And that shift changes everything. Many men underestimate how much attention shapes reality. Whatever receives your attention grows. Whatever receives your attention gains influence. Whatever receives your attention gains control over your emotions. If your attention stays fixed on a woman who plays games, then confusion grows, frustration grows, doubt grows. But if your attention shifts toward building your body, improving your finances, developing skills, creating opportunities, strengthening friendships, and pursuing meaningful goals, then confidence grows, discipline grows, strength grows, respect grows. This is why Stoic principles teach a lesson that every man needs to hear. Your energy should be invested where it produces value, not where it produces chaos. You cannot control how she behaves. You cannot control her choices. You cannot control whether she appreciates you. But you can absolutely control where your focus goes, and once you master that, you become difficult to manipulate. Because manipulation only works when someone can capture your attention and hold it hostage. The moment you refuse to give endless emotional energy to someone who has not earned it, the entire dynamic changes. Suddenly she no longer has the version of you that was always available. She no longer has the version of you that was waiting for her next signal. She no longer has the version of you that could be pulled in different directions whenever she felt like it. Instead, she sees someone focused, someone disciplined, someone building, someone moving forward regardless of her presence. And whether she admits it or not, that is the version she respects most. But the real reward is not her reaction. The real reward is what happens inside you. You begin waking up with purpose instead of uncertainty. You begin making decisions from strength instead of desperation. You begin creating a life that feels meaningful, whether she is part of it or not. And that is the ultimate victory, because the goal was never to make her miss you. The goal was to stop missing yourself. The goal was to reclaim the energy that was leaking into situations that could never truly fulfill you. The goal was to become a man whose attention is so valuable that he guards it carefully. And when you reach that point, you no longer chase people who play games. You become far too focused building a life that makes those games irrelevant. Number 3. Build yourself in silence. Nothing confuses a woman more than seeing the man she thought she could control become completely focused on his own growth. She expects the heartbreak to weaken you. She expects the disappointment to distract you. She expects the emotional confusion to consume your thoughts for months, while she continues living her life believing she still has influence over your emotions. And this is exactly where many men make a mistake that costs them years of progress. They become obsessed with proving her wrong. They become obsessed with showing her what she lost. They become obsessed with creating a reaction from the very person they should be leaving behind. But building yourself in silence requires a completely different mindset. It requires understanding that your transformation is not a performance. It is not a message. It is not a strategy designed to pull her back into your life. It is a personal commitment to become stronger, regardless of whether she ever notices. Because the truth many men struggle to accept is that she is not the biggest obstacle standing in front of their future. Their attachment to her is. Their obsession with her is. Their inability to let go of the emotional investment they already made is. And until they confront that reality, they remain trapped in a cycle where every decision still revolves around someone who is no longer adding value to their life. This is why silence becomes so powerful. Silence removes the need to perform. Silence removes the need for validation. Silence removes the temptation to constantly announce your plans before you have achieved them. Many men talk about becoming stronger. They talk about making more money. They talk about improving their health. They talk about becoming disciplined. But talking creates an illusion of progress while producing very little actual change. Real growth happens when nobody is watching. Real growth happens when there is no audience. Real growth happens when you continue showing up long after the excitement disappears. And this is where Stoic discipline separates successful men from everyone else. Instead of focusing on outcomes, you focus on actions. Instead of focusing on recognition, you focus on consistency. Instead of focusing on whether she regrets losing you, you focus on becoming someone who no longer needs anyone's approval to keep moving forward. Every morning becomes an opportunity to strengthen yourself. Every workout becomes proof that you are building resilience. Every skill you develop becomes another layer of confidence. Every productive habit becomes another brick in the foundation of a stronger life. And little by little, something remarkable begins to happen. The woman who once occupied your thoughts all day slowly loses her importance. Not because you forced yourself to forget her, but because your life becomes too meaningful to revolve around one person. This is where many men experience a breakthrough. They finally understand that the pain was never the end of the story. The pain was the invitation. The disappointment became the wake-up call. The confusion became the lesson. The situation that once seemed unfair becomes the catalyst for a completely different future. And while she is expecting you to remain exactly the same, you are quietly creating distance between who you were and who you are becoming. Your confidence improves. Your standards improve. Your self-control improves. Your health improves. Your financial position improves. Your relationships improve. Your mindset improves. Everything begins moving in a better direction because your attention is no longer trapped inside a situation you cannot control. One of the hardest truths for many men to accept is that some women only appreciate value after they lose access to it. As long as you remain available, your presence becomes ordinary. As long as you remain predictable, your effort becomes expected. As long as you remain attached, your value becomes invisible. But once you redirect that energy toward building yourself, something changes. She starts seeing the version of you she never expected, the disciplined version, the focused version, the ambitious version, the version that does not need constant validation, the version that no longer waits around hoping somebody chooses him. And whether she acknowledges it publicly or not becomes irrelevant because the transformation is already happening. This is why building yourself in silence is not about revenge. Revenge keeps you emotionally connected to the past. Growth pulls you toward the future. Revenge depends on another person's reaction. Growth depends entirely on your actions. Revenge fades quickly. Growth compounds for years. And when you truly understand that distinction, your priorities change forever. You stop asking how to make her regret her choices. You start asking how to maximize your own potential. You stop wondering why she behaved the way she did. You start wondering how much more your life could become if you invested that same energy into yourself. You stop chasing closure. You start creating momentum, and momentum changes everything. Because once your life begins moving in a powerful direction, opportunities appear that would never have existed if you remained stuck in the same emotional cycle. New friendships appear, new goals appear, new possibilities appear, new confidence appears, and eventually you reach a place where you look back at the situation that once consumed your mind and realize something incredible. The woman who played games with your heart accidentally pushed you toward becoming the strongest version of yourself. Not because she wanted to help you, not because she cared about your growth, but because her behavior forced you to confront truths you had been avoiding for too long. It forced you to raise your standards. It forced you to strengthen your discipline. It forced you to stop building your identity around someone else's approval. And that is why building yourself in silence remains one of the most powerful moves any man can make. Not because it changes her, because it changes you. And once you change at that level, your entire future changes with you. And if you're serious about becoming that stronger version of yourself faster, the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men is linked in the comments below. Packed with timeless Stoic principles, you can apply immediately to strengthen your mindset, raise your standards, master your emotions, and build unshakable self-respect. And the best part is that it will always be yours, giving you lifelong access to wisdom you can return to whenever life tests you. And it is now available as an audiobook, so you can absorb these life-changing lessons while taking a walk, jogging, driving, training, or going about your day. And if you want to go even deeper, the Stoic Relationship Blueprint course for men is launching in the coming weeks with powerful step-by-step guidance designed to help you transform every area of your life. So comment Blueprint right now to get early access and be among the first men to experience it. Number 4. Let your success speak. Few things are more powerful than becoming so focused on your purpose that the people who underestimated you are forced to watch your life transform from a distance. This is where the entire situation begins to shift in your favor, because the woman who played games with your heart often expects your life to stay exactly where she left it. She expects you to remain emotionally attached. She expects you to remain available. She expects you to keep carrying the same wounds while she continues believing she still has influence over your direction. And this assumption becomes one of the biggest mistakes she makes, because she is judging your future based on the version of you she last experienced. She is judging your potential based on the version of you that tolerated confusion, accepted mixed signals, ignored red flags, and kept giving chances where they were not deserved. What she does not understand is that pain becomes a powerful teacher when a man finally decides to stop running from the lesson. The difficult truth is that many men waste years trying to get justice from people who never intended to treat them fairly. They want apologies, they want accountability, they want acknowledgement, they want the woman who wasted their time to finally admit what she did. But life rarely works that way. Some people move on without explaining themselves. Some people leave damage behind without caring about the consequences. Some people take from others without ever intending to give back. And when you keep waiting for fairness from unfair people, you give away years that could have been spent building a stronger future. This is why success becomes such a powerful response. Success does not require permission. Success does not require cooperation. Success does not require someone else's understanding. Success happens when you stop focusing on what happened to you and start focusing on what you can build from it. And this is where Stoic thinking becomes life-changing. Instead of asking why she did it, you start asking what you can do next. Instead of focusing on the injustice, you focus on the opportunity. Instead of becoming trapped by the past, you become committed to the future. This sounds simple, but very few men actually do it. Many remain emotionally connected to situations long after those situations have ended. Their body moves forward, but their mind remains stuck. Their life continues, but their attention remains trapped. They keep replaying conversations that no longer matter. They keep imagining different outcomes that no longer exist. They keep investing emotional energy into someone who is no longer contributing anything positive to their future. And every day they do this, they delay their own progress. This is why letting your success speak requires a decision to stop making her the main character of your story, a decision to stop measuring your worth by her opinion, a decision to stop allowing one person's behavior to define your entire outlook on life. Because the truth is that many men hand over enormous power to women without realizing it. They allow one woman's choices to determine their confidence. They allow one woman's attention to determine their self-worth. They allow one woman's approval to determine how they see themselves. And the result is predictable. Their emotional state rises and falls based on factors they cannot control. But the second you reclaim ownership of your own value, everything begins to change. You start setting goals that have nothing to do with proving anything to anyone. You start building habits that strengthen your future. You start creating a life that stands on its own foundation. You become more disciplined with your health, more intentional with your finances, more selective with your relationships, more focused with your time. And while all of this is happening, your confidence begins growing from a completely different place. It is no longer based on compliments. It is no longer based on validation. It is no longer based on whether somebody chooses you. It is based on evidence. Evidence that you can trust yourself. Evidence that you can overcome adversity. Evidence that you can remain disciplined even when life becomes difficult. Evidence that you can continue moving forward regardless of what other people do. This kind of confidence is powerful because nobody can take it away from you. It does not depend on external circumstances. It comes from knowing what you are capable of. And eventually there comes a point where the woman who once occupied your thoughts begins noticing something she never expected. She notices that you are no longer standing still. She notices that you are no longer available on demand. She notices that your life continues improving without her participation. She notices that the attention she once received automatically now belongs to goals, ambitions, opportunities, and priorities that matter far more. And this is where many men finally understand something important. The greatest form of success is not making her regret losing you. The greatest form of success is becoming so fulfilled that whether she regrets it or not no longer matters. Because the moment her opinion becomes irrelevant, you become free. Free from seeking validation. Free from seeking approval. free from seeking closure from people who cannot provide it, free from emotional dependence, free from the constant need to prove your worth. And once that freedom arrives, your life begins operating at a completely different level. You become harder to manipulate, harder to distract, harder to control. Your standards rise because your self-respect rises. Your expectations rise because your confidence rises. Your discipline rises because your vision becomes clearer. And perhaps the most satisfying part of all is that none of this requires announcing anything. You do not need to post cryptic messages. You do not need to show off. You do not need to tell the world what you are doing. Your results speak for you. Your actions speak for you. Your growth speaks for you. Your peace speaks for you. And when a man reaches that level, people notice, not because he demands attention, but because genuine progress is impossible to ignore. The woman who once thought she could play games with your heart eventually realizes that the same experience she expected to weaken you became the very thing that strengthened you. And while she expected your world to revolve around her, you built a world that no longer requires her presence at all. That is why letting your success speak is so powerful. It turns pain into fuel. It turns disappointment into discipline. It turns confusion into clarity. And it transforms one of the most difficult chapters of your life into the foundation of a future far greater than anything you imagined when the story first began. Number 5. Never react to her games. The strongest position you can ever reach is becoming emotionally unavailable to manipulation. This is the point where everything changes, because a woman who plays games with your heart is often expecting one thing above all else. She is expecting a reaction. She is expecting your frustration. She is expecting your confusion. She is expecting your anger. She is expecting you to chase answers, demand explanations, and spend your energy trying to make sense of behavior that was never designed to make sense. And the reason she expects this is because reactions give her information. Reactions tell her she still has access to your emotions. Reactions tell her she can still influence your mood. Reactions tell her that despite everything that has happened, she still occupies valuable space inside your mind. This is why refusing to react becomes one of the most powerful moves a man can make. Not because you are pretending not to care, not because you are suppressing your emotions, but because you finally understand that every emotional outburst, every desperate message, every attempt to get the last word keeps you attached to the very situation you are trying to escape. Many men believe strength means dominating an argument. They believe strength means proving someone wrong. They believe strength means exposing bad behavior and forcing accountability. But true strength often looks very different. True strength is maintaining control over yourself when everything inside you wants to react. True strength is protecting your peace when someone is trying to pull you into unnecessary drama. True strength is refusing to hand over your emotional stability to someone who has not earned that level of influence. And this lesson becomes life-changing because it applies far beyond relationships. The same self-control that protects you from manipulation protects you in business. It protects you during conflict. It protects you when life becomes difficult. It protects you when people test your patience. It protects you when circumstances are not going your way. Every area of life improves when you stop allowing emotions to dictate your actions. This is why Stoic discipline begins with understanding a simple truth. You cannot control what other people do. You cannot control what she says. You cannot control whether she respects you. You cannot control whether she apologizes. You cannot control whether she changes. But you can control how you respond. You can control where your attention goes. You can control what actions you take next. And that is where your power lives. Many men waste years fighting battles inside their own minds because they keep trying to control outcomes that belong to somebody else. They want closure from people who are incapable of giving it. They want honesty from people who benefit from confusion. They want accountability from people who avoid responsibility. And while they are waiting for these things, their own lives remain stuck. This is why emotional control is not passive. It is not weakness. It is active strength. It is choosing progress over obsession. It is choosing discipline over impulse. It is choosing purpose over distraction. Imagine receiving a message from the woman who played games with your heart after months of silence. The old version of you immediately stops everything. The old version overthinks every word. The old version imagines possibilities. The old version gets pulled straight back into emotional uncertainty. But the stronger version of you approaches it differently. He pauses. He breathes. He evaluates the situation logically. He asks himself whether this interaction adds value to his life. He asks whether her actions match her words. He asks whether anything has genuinely changed. And if the answer is no, he continues moving forward. That is emotional mastery. Not reacting because you have trained yourself to think before acting. Not reacting because you understand that your future is worth more than temporary emotional satisfaction. Not reacting because you finally recognize your own value. One of the greatest mistakes men make is believing they need to teach people lessons. They believe they need to make her understand what she lost. They believe they need to explain why her behavior was wrong. They believe they need to create consequences personally. But life handles that far better than you ever could. Your responsibility is not to teach her. Your responsibility is to strengthen yourself. Your responsibility is to build a life that reflects your standards. Your responsibility is to protect your peace. And when you focus on that, everything begins improving. Your sleep improves because you stop carrying emotional baggage every day. Your confidence improves because you stop seeking validation from unpredictable people. Your productivity improves because your attention returns to meaningful goals. Your health improves because your energy is no longer consumed by unnecessary stress. Your relationships improve because you become more selective about who receives access to your time. This is where practical action becomes important. Start by creating structure in your life. Wake up at the same time every day. Go to the gym even when motivation disappears. Track your progress. Read for 30 minutes daily. Set clear financial goals. Break large goals into smaller steps. If you want to lose weight, focus on today's workout instead of the final result. If you want to build a business, focus on today's task instead of the entire journey. If you want more confidence, focus on keeping promises to yourself every single day. Small victories compound, small disciplines compound, small improvements compound, and eventually those small actions create a version of you that is almost unrecognizable compared to the man who once allowed emotional games to control his life. This is what many men fail to understand. The woman was never the entire problem. The real problem was allowing one person to become more important than your mission, your purpose, your growth, and your future. The real problem was abandoning yourself while trying to keep somebody else. The real problem was giving away power that should have remained in your own hands. And once you correct that mistake, your entire perspective changes. You stop looking at difficult experiences as punishment. You start seeing them as opportunities to become stronger. You stop viewing setbacks as endings. You start viewing them as redirections. You stop asking why life happened to you. You start asking how you can use every challenge to improve yourself. And that mindset creates a completely different future. A future where your happiness does not depend on another person's choices. A future where your confidence does not depend on another person's approval. A future where your peace does not depend on another person's behavior. And perhaps that is the greatest victory of all, because eventually the woman who once occupied your thoughts every day becomes a chapter rather than the entire story. Her actions lose their power, her opinions lose their power, her games lose their power, and for the first time you realize something that changes everything. The goal was never to make her regret playing games with your heart. The goal was to become the kind of man who never allows those games to control him again. That is real freedom. That is real strength. That is real growth. And once you reach that level, nobody can take it away from you. The world profits when men stay distracted, emotionally dependent, and disconnected from timeless wisdom, which is why if you're ready to take back control of your mind, your standards, and your relationships, grab the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men linked in the comments today, filled with timeless Stoic principles that can transform your life immediately, and now available in audiobook format, so you can listen while taking a walk, jogging, training, driving, or building your future. And remember that once it's yours, this life-changing knowledge is yours